So this article recently published under your name, Maintaining Health and Wellbeing by Putting Faith into Action During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Let's start there. In general, what role can faith play in maintaining a sense of well-being in a challenging time?
Well, Matt, everyone is anxious now. Everyone is anxious about this coronavirus and about all of the effects that it's having on everyone. People are losing their jobs. We can't congregate. There are just so many changes that people are having to deal with. So this is creating a great deal of stress. And religious beliefs and practices are often used to cope with the stress that life brings to us. So religion is turned to by many people. And in fact, there is some evidence that praying has increased across the world based on a Google search of the word prayer recently, within just the last 6 months compared to earlier periods of time. So people are turning to their religious faith to make sense of, to cope, to deal with the stress. And that's good because stress increases your risk of developing COVID-19. It alters immune functioning in a way that makes you more susceptible to the virus and makes the course of illness, if you do become infected, it makes it worse because of the stress-related immune system changes that occur because of this anxiety. And religious faith helps to lower that anxiety.
And I've also seen you submit the idea that the opposite is true, right? Positive emotions can have maybe a favorable effect on the functioning of our immune system. How exactly can getting in touch with our with faith or spirituality, how can that encourage those positive feelings to put us in a better position, even from an immune system perspective?
Matt, the research is even stronger with regard to positive emotions between religion and positive emotions than it is between religion and negative emotions like stress and depression. So over 80% of quantitative studies show that religious people simply have more positive emotions. They score higher on scales of happiness, of life satisfaction, of having meaning and purpose in life, having hope, being more optimistic. All of these are just like putting fertilizer on positive emotions. And so, that's another way, as you say, that's another way that religious involvement protects people. It's through the beliefs, the comforting beliefs that there is a God, that God loves us, that there is meaning and purpose to everything that happens in the world, and that he can be called on to provide support and care and help us actually practically through a lot of situations. And of course, there is the faith community as well that surrounds us and provides support. Now that's, not so easy with the COVID-19 pandemic, but there's lots of, online services that provide inspiring, sermons that give people hope, that give people a sense of direction right now, and that it in some ways provide support because, you can also do some chatting there as part of the service online. So, we don't know what effect remote involvement in religious practice has. We don't have any data on that yet, but it is likely that is also beneficial. It may not be as beneficial as actually gathering together with people, encouraging one another in person without a mask, and hugging, and shaking hands, and all of that, singing together, all of these things that are so important in personal contact for good mental health. We don't have that now, but we have to compensate by these other ways.
Dr. Koenig, is there the theme of this week is spirituality, and we're hearing you use the term religious faith, but then there's this term spirituality. Is there, as far as the scientific community is concerned, as far as you're concerned, is there a meaningful difference between those two terms?
Well, Matt, as far as I'm concerned, there really is not. Now, just being spiritual and not religious, you know, what the research shows is that doesn't help much. It seems like the religious aspect of spirituality is like that's what's causing these benefits. Just saying you're spiritual, you're not involved in anything, you don't have any specific beliefs. What, you know, why would you expect that to influence your mental or physical or social health? Unless a person's faith is strong enough to influence their beliefs, their attitudes, the way they live their lives, the way they treat others, unless it's strong enough to do that, there's no reason to think it would benefit anyone.
Almost, so perhaps the structure of the religion really empowers the whole, the essence of the spirituality, I think, is kind of what I'm gathering.
Yes, the structure is important, but, you know, the way I define religion, it's not just attending religious services. Certainly attending religious services, gathering together, you know, to praise God, to pray, to sing, to worship, all of that is very important. And in fact, it is the most powerful predictor of all aspects of religion. It's the most powerful predictor of health. But there's a lot more than just the attending religious services. There's the personal connection with God, the prayer, the reading the religious scriptures that are inspiring. There's lots of personal, private kinds of activities that are part of this. It's not just the structure of being part of a religious, of going to church and institutional religion. There was this old saying that if you think that going to church makes you religious, then go out and sit in your garage and you'll become a car. So it's not just going to church. It's all of the other things that involve a change in a person's view, attitude, behavior, treatment, living life. You know, that's what counts. You know, it's the personal incorporation of religious beliefs. It's the personal commitment. It's the connection with God and you know, the divine. However one understands God, the divine, the transcendent, that's what counts.
Dr. Koenig, you've been very gracious with your time, and I don't want to occupy too much more of it, so I'll finish off with these last two questions. Religious services have been interrupted here in Manitoba, Canada. We've seen some pretty heavy lockdown restrictions kind of close off our ability to go to our religious place of worship. What kind of impact is that having, that obstacle? What's the magnitude of that issue? And what are members of the religious community to do without without being able to rely on the typical gathering and getting in touch with their religious faith the way they're accustomed to?
Yes, the restrictions on religious gatherings, I think, is having an impact. It's having an impact, you know, because people can't get together like they used to. And, some churches have worked it out, though. I mean, I can tell you that I'm about as paranoid about this COVID-19 as any human being on the planet Earth. But our church has it arranged. For a long time, we participated in the virtual services. They were fine. They were okay. But, we started recently going to church, and they've arranged it so that it's pretty safe there. You know, they make sure everybody wears a mask. They have, the hand sanitizer everywhere. They clean things up. They keep people 6 feet apart during the service and everything. So it seems to be pretty safe the way some churches are doing it. Now, of course, there are some areas of the world where You just can't meet as a group, and that is an issue. And I think there are some costs to that because of the social isolation that tends to breed, because for many people, their major source of socialization is their weekly attendance at religious services. And so that's no longer possible for some individuals, and that's going to have a cost. There's no doubt about that, particularly for older adults who may already be somewhat socially isolated.
Dr. Koenig, thank you so much for your time. My final question, you gave some wonderful, almost like your 6 concrete recommendations in the earlier mentioned article. Do you have any parting words for our listeners here in the Parkland region of Manitoba, Canada? What can we do what's the best practices, your best tips to maintain spiritual, mental, and physical resilience during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, Matt, there are the first thing is to keep your spiritual life up. Keep it up. Make it strong. Take this opportunity to spend time developing your spiritual life in perhaps reading religious scriptures or praying. This is a time now we have fewer distractions. A lot of us, especially if you're sick at home, you don't have as many distractions, so you got a little bit more time to be able to do that. So I would strongly encourage nurturing your spiritual life, and then you've got to also take care of your physical health. And as this article that I wrote, there are lots of things that you can do. You want to stay well hydrated. You want to drink plenty of fluids in the morning time. You want to be careful about getting out. You want to wear your mask. You want to do everything that, social distance. All of that makes perfect practical sense. You want to take your zinc, vitamin D, and those various, vitamins and things, because that does help to protect your immune system. And then you want to take advantage of the technology that we now have in terms of, of remotely interacting with loved ones and friends. So really take advantage. There's never been any time in history that we have had so much technology by which we can connect with others. So it's important to intentionally connect with others. And especially if you know anyone who might be isolated, be intentional about communicating with them, because providing support to others is much more powerful in terms of maintaining mental, physical, immune health than it is receiving that support. So do something good. Care for your neighbors, especially those neighbors that might be having a hard time. Doing something good you're going to benefit from that physically as well as mentally.
I think that's a great place to end off. I really do appreciate, and I'm sure the people of the Parkland here appreciate the insights you've shared with us. Dr. Harold Koenig, thank you very much, and all the best to you, sir.
Thank you, Matt. Bye-bye.